last 2 weeks I was on a vacation. As usual, I took on a little bit too much. So I was pretty excited to find out when I got to work at BMW that I would get 2 weeks off in August, because I just started working in July. That being said, I hadn't gotten my first paycheck yet, so I didn't really have very much money to travel with. So I decided to look for cheap ways to travel, and probably the cheapest way to travel is to camp, but I don't have a tent, or the desire to be out in the wilderness completely by myself for days and days on end. So I chose sort of a middle road where I would still bike, but I would stay at little hostels in towns along the way. So my original goal was to bike from Munich to Prague, and that didn't happen. Spoiler alert. So I set out on Monday, which was raining and forecasted to be like a storm or whatever, but I thought the rain usually comes in bursts and then leaves, so it should be fine. I took, I think, 7 hours to go like 60 miles, which is embarrassing. It was like 8 miles an hour. Luckily though, that was in the rain and through gravel and through getting lost, so maybe my average is higher. Looks like the clouds are clearing up, so I'm super grateful for that. It was raining all day yesterday for hours and hours and hours. My shoes are still wet, so I might have to ride in flip-flops today. My route would say 20 kilometers, okay, and then I'd ride for 15 minutes, and then it would say 19.5 kilometers. There's no way it took me 15 minutes to ride half a kilometer. I got very lost in some cornfields. That is scary. And I'm pretty sure at some point when my bike fell, or probably just because it's an old bike, the crankset is loosening. So every kilometer that I go is just a sigh of relief that the cranks have not fallen off of the bike. That's what I get for buying a flea market bike. Second day I did about the same distance, 50 miles actually, 55 or so, and it took me 5 hours, so that was better. Second day riding was pretty good. Parts of it was not bike road. The bike road kept ending. These are the dead ends I'm talking about. Just came from what looks to be a normal path. I don't think I can do a third day, and I feel like I'm letting myself down because I really wanted to do this whole ride on bike, but it's too much. I don't know. I'm tired. I don't want to be wet anymore, and 70 kilometers has kind of been my limit. At about 50, I start getting really sore. At about 70, I start getting really irritated. I'm a quitter. But the stuff in between being wet and tired was absolutely breathtaking. It was beautiful. Completely worth it. I was rather excited to see that town, Furthenwald. Not many people have even heard of it, even the Germans that I've talked to here. But it's this tiny little town, and once a year they have this dragon festival. It's so cute. They have this like mechanized robotic dragon that like Audi and a bunch of other companies have worked on to make, and it's huge and state-of-the-art, and it's in this tiny town that nobody has heard of. So I decided to take a train, and it was awesome. It was a great decision because I got to see the Dragon Festival, and yeah, medieval festivals in tiny little towns that nobody's ever heard of. Absolutely. So I went for it. Then the next day I decided to take off again on my bike, and I made it across the Czech border, which I only realized because the street names started changing. At no point did I see a "Welcome to the Czech Republic" sign, but I just assumed that I was now in the Czech Republic. So the road was beautiful. It was just stunning. It was a bit of a climb, but not too bad. And so absolutely worth it. Just the scenery was amazing. And that scenery eventually cost me the trail. I don't know if I missed some turn or if it's just supposed to be that difficult, but the trails kept ending. And I think my bike road ended again. I was just taking one, I think I'm in the Czech Republic right now. I was just taking one and it ended straight into a forest, kind of like the one behind me. And there seems to be like tractor trails or whatever there, so I decided I would try to go through it anyway. Then my bike was not having it. The fender on the front wheel completely caved into the wheel and stopped it. Luckily, I just jumped off. My bike does not like off-roading. I don't think it was really built for this. And the crank is just getting wobblier and wobblier, and that's a little disconcerting. So there's this road, which I'm not sure is a bike road. So we'll see how that goes. And it was terrifying. For the first time during that trip, I was actually really scared. I didn't know where I was really. I knew that nobody around me spoke any English, and the bit of German that I know, I didn't know if it was going to be enough. So I freaked out a little bit in the woods. The worst part was thinking that I'm in the middle of a forest in the Czech Republic, completely alone. And then the freaking out began. So I rode to the nearest town with a train station, and just with the 3 German words that the lady at the train station knew and the 3 German words that I know, we managed to get a ticket. It was as far as I was gonna go, I guess. Someday I would still like to complete a a huge trip. The bike trip, completely worth it. Being terrified, completely worth it. Being wet the whole day. I'm going to hesitate to say completely worth it, but completely worth it. I hate being wet. I don't know what I'm doing. Clearly.